I'm Zoe Zalita with Offshore Rafting Inflatable Boat Repair. We're going to jump right into today's topic, which is inflation pressure. So we have these inflatables, we need to inflate them. How do we do it? Why do we do it that way? We need anything special in order to perform this task. All right, at my shop, I have to inflate several boats several times throughout the course of any given shift. And I'm not going to do all of that with the hand pump alone. So we cheat a little bit, and you can too. What we're doing is inflating from aft to forward. We'll take a shop vac or a little electric pump that you might use for a camping mattress just to get shape into those tubes. It's important that we do it from aft to forward because these chambers communicate with each other. A simple example would be if a shark bit your bow chamber, those aft chambers are going to try to send air up there as an effort to assist that bow. So don't get lazy and just go to the next valve in line. You may find that you're thinking you have a leak when perhaps you don't. Aft to forward, we're topping off to spec. If you still have a data plate on the boat, that'll provide you that information, 2.5, 3.4 PSI. The paddle boards, the air decks, those require a much higher PSI, 11, 13, maybe even more than that. Look for the information. If you don't have a data plate, or you don't have a gauge, it doesn't matter. This is not, an exact science here. What we're looking for, though, at least with those aft chambers, is that they are drum tight. So you're punching the tube and your fist is bouncing back at you, no squishiness. The reason for that is we do not want the vibration of the outboard to start to yank those transom holders away from the transom. We don't want the tubes to come away from the hull. So this is not a situation where you have to sit and monitor this pressure all day long. But let me give you just a simple scenario now. We're in fall, so the nighttime temperatures are going to be much cooler than what we've had over the past few weeks. We're getting those afternoon thunderstorms. That drop in temperature is going to show you a decrease in your inflation pressure. The tubes may experience a loss of up to 25% of that inflation pressure overnight due to these temperature fluctuations. So off we go in the morning. It's 53 degrees. We're going to breakfast. So we've topped off those tubes to spec. We're ready to run. And now we decide we're going to stay out for a while. Day heats up, especially here in Florida. We have some wild fluctuations in the temperature. In the heat of the day, those tubes are expanding. They're stretching and stressing the seams. If you have patches on there, if you had a seam repair, we need to take care of these masterpieces. We don't want to blow out of something just because you jacked it up to spec and left it like that when it's, 90 degrees outside. So in the heat of the day, if you're still going to be out for a bit, go ahead and let some, air out of those valves. A little tss is going to be enough to do the trick for you. Worst case scenario, if you've let too much air out, you're just going to have to do a couple of pumps to top it back off to spec pressure when you're ready to head back to the big boat. Speaking of the big boat, when you have the dinghies sitting on deck or on the davits, you don't want them sitting there pumped to spec, nor do you want them completely deflated. All right, so if we have no shape to the tubes whatsoever, then the heavier accessories, the rub rails, the oarlocks, those types of things are going to want to slough away from the tubes. They're just going to get saggy, and you'll notice you get a little bit of detachment, and then we get water in there and it attacks the rest of the adhesive. Before you know it, the rub rail's falling off. So again, you don't have to constantly be monitoring, but you do need to be mindful. Just pay attention to these things. This inflation pressure not leaving vessels pumped to spec is especially important for the Chinese PVC glued seam vessels. It's also very important for your paddle boards. I mean, the paddle boards can just explode completely, as can the Chinese PVC vessels. So just be paying attention to that. Most important things that I want you to take away from this particular topic is making certain that at least those aft chambers are pumped to spec when you are operating. In the heat of the day, let some air out of those chambers. Don't be lazy. We want to do aft to forward all the time. Don't just go to the next valve in line. What else do we have here with this? Our temperature fluctuations. We're going to be doing quite a few of these little discussions, all right? And I'm basing these upon questions or discussions that I've had with my customers. There are a lot of times I'll encounter somebody and we're talking about a particular issue and they'll say, well, I had no idea. I didn't know. Nobody told me. I didn't know about the inflation pressure. I just thought I had a leak. I've always just walked around to the next valve. Well, no wonder you're experiencing some of these problems, and some of you are ashamed to ask. Let me tell you, the time for shame and humiliation is when you've performed a disastrous DIY. And now I'm going to charge you to take apart your shit and do the thing correctly. So do not hesitate to ask for help or advice. Call, text, email, Facebook me, whatever it is you need. Stay tuned for more of these discussions. I mean, today was inflation pressure. I think tomorrow we're going to talk about our valves and how we can properly maintain those. I don't know. These aren't going to be in any kind of order, just from the questions that I've received recently. Thanks a bunch for tuning in.